Norway has a better, cheaper, and much more efficient and, yeah, for me, very interesting way to deal with the rising energy prices. So thank you, Howard, for sharing that. I wasn't aware about that. And it was very, very helpful to learn me a very new thing. Well, how Norwegian do it? Norwegians simply have a state-owned funds. One of these is Well Fund, which is created from, for example, proceeds from exporting petrol and energy. Norwegian state owned quite a big chunk of Norwegian economy, so in the good times when the profits are high, they are able to pump quite a decent amount of money into this fund. And when the times are bad, like right now, they are able to use this fund, for sheltering the citizen and people living in Norway. And well, actually, that was the purpose of this fund because created in 1996, supposed to help Norway to move at some point from oil to and fossils to renewables or any kind of other economy. And to imagine how big this fund was, even in this year, it lost $174 billion. It is 1.3 trillion big. So it's about size of Mexican economy. And yeah, it still allow them to cut one third of energy bills. So you may ask, how come Norway, which is very big exporter of oil, is have to such huge energy increases? Well, part of the reason for that is energy imports in Norway. They normally are able to produce quite huge amount of the energy and electricity internally, but this year they have been faced with dry spell because the dry season and water levels in rivers, which didn't allow them produce so well, not sufficient energy from a hydro and a power plant. And so, yeah, this is, for example, statistic on electricity imports in gigawatts. So this is quite huge amount. 1.4 gigawatt watt is substantial amount. That's the reason in such small country it produces such huge el- electricity prices spikes. Currently, actually, Sweden is in talk with Norway is in talks with Sweden and probably Finland and Denmark to find another solution to do it together. But I want to point this to compare the solution given by Liz Truss to give about 130 billion pounds to energy suppliers, so retailers possibly, who will buying energy from wholesalers will be simply moving this 130 billion to big energy companies. And the money comes from simply borrowing. And that's not very smart move to borrow money right now. Well, not the smartest because of inflation, uncertain market, increasing interest rates. It will be quite expensive to manage this debt. And there is another problem for that. Simply, Tory and Liz Truss recently in particular are very in favor of low taxes for the big business. For example, Liz Truss said there will be no windfall tax for energy companies. And even Boris Johnson was hesitant. Finally, he gave his way. So there is no way that anyone else than us, working class, will pay it back in 10 to maybe even more years if this debt will be rolled for a longer period of time. So there are two different solutions. One which relies on private companies, private sector, private owned industries, which just simply rely on bailouts. Simply yes, bailouts to or bribes to sell cheaper energy. Or and this is financed by potentially debt if there is no other solution possible, and Norwegian way, where they have a publicly owned energy sector which pumps huge money into state-owned wealth fund, which could be used without need to borrow money on international markets and be reliant on very volatile interest rates. Remember about this two 174 billion loss that could be partially related to the losses which are created because this fund were forced to sell some assets. So this Norwegian funds is created from stocks, for example, or any any papers having any kind of value. If they are sold at this point, probably it's a huge chance they will suffer a loss. But yeah, so far they were still able to swallow it without bigger bigger problems. There's still possibly less than 1%. Well, it's still 1% of the value of this fund. So yeah, and I'm talking about this because in UK we have many groups who try to promote similar solution. For example, we own it. Try to push agenda of publicly owned water resources, publicly owned energy market, and they have a quite smart solution, smart analysis, smart approach to that. But so I really recommend to have a look what they propose, or to search for other groups who propose similar solutions. And yeah, I say that because I think at this point we are really screwed. We have to not only pay high taxes, but we have as well to pay interest rates from public borrowing because the Tory government is hesitant to raise the taxes for very profitable energy sector at this point. Even though if the Tory government proposed solution, there is not quite enough. It is still not enough to shelter people who are from the lowest income groups. Uh, and yeah, these are my thoughts. Let me know what do you think, and catch up soon.